Hey there, history fans, welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into some of the most persistent historical myths that people still believe. You know, those little nuggets of misinformation that somehow wormed their way into our collective memory. We're talking about those stories that get passed down through generations, whispered in classrooms, and even printed in textbooks, despite being, well, completely untrue. History is complicated, and sometimes the truth is a lot less exciting than a good story. But that's why we're here. We're going to separate fact from fiction, debunk some popular misconceptions, and maybe, just maybe, learn a thing or two along the way. So buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey through time, where we'll challenge what we think we know and uncover the real stories behind some of history's biggest myths. Okay, let's start with a big one. The idea that Christopher Columbus discovered America. This myth is so deeply ingrained that it's practically American law. But the truth, as is often the case, is much more complex. The idea that any one person could discover a land already inhabited by millions of people is, well, kind of absurd. Indigenous peoples had been living in North and South America for thousands of years before Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. And if we're talking about European exploration, Columbus wasn't even the first to reach the Americas. Norse explorer Leif Erikson is believed to have landed in present-day Newfoundland around the year 1000, nearly 500 years before Columbus. The Americas were already home to thriving civilizations long before Columbus arrived. Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, is often depicted as a short man with a Napoleon complex. But was he really that short? The answer, surprisingly, is no. The myth of Napoleon's height likely stems from a confusion between French and English measurements. Napoleon was recorded as being 5 feet 2 inches tall in French units, which translates to about 5 feet 7 inches in English units. Propaganda played a role, with Napoleon's enemies using his supposed lack of stature to mock him and undermine his authority. But the truth is, Napoleon's height had little bearing on his military genius, his political acumen, or his lasting impact on European history. Picture a Viking warrior. What do you see? A fierce warrior, probably with a horned helmet, right? Well, while the fierce warrior part might be accurate, the horned helmet is a myth. Despite their prevalence in popular culture, there is no historical evidence to suggest that Vikings wore helmets adorned with horns. Operas like Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen featured costumes with horned helmets, further cementing the image in the public imagination. While it makes for a striking visual, the truth is Viking helmets were designed for battle, not for fashion statements. Chapter 4. The Great Wall of China. Not so visible from space. The Great Wall of China is an architectural marvel, stretching for thousands of miles. It's so impressive, in fact, that a popular myth claims it's the only human-made structure visible from space. But is it true? Well, not really. From the vast distance of space, it's incredibly difficult to discern structures that small, even with the naked eye. Astronauts have confirmed that while they can see cities and other large-scale human developments from space, the Great Wall is notoriously elusive. So while the Great Wall remains a testament to human ingenuity, it's not quite the space-age landmark that many believe it to be. Chapter 5. Marie Antoinette never said, "Let them eat cake." Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before the Revolution, is often associated with the phrase, "let them eat cake." But did she actually say it? The answer is almost certainly no. There's no reliable historical evidence to suggest that Marie Antoinette ever uttered those words. The phrase first appeared in print decades before she even arrived in France, attributed to a great princess, not to Marie Antoinette specifically. It's likely that the "let them eat cake" quote was anti-monarchist propaganda designed to portray Marie Antoinette as out of touch and uncaring. The real Marie Antoinette, while flawed and perhaps politically naive, was a much more complex figure than this infamous quote suggests. Chapter 6. The Salem Witch Trials. More than just burning at the stake. The Salem Witch Trials, a dark chapter in American history, conjure up images of women being burned at the stake for practicing witchcraft. While the trials were undoubtedly a horrific event, the method of execution is often misrepresented. Contrary to popular belief, no one accused of witchcraft in Salem was burned at the stake. The prevailing method of execution in colonial Massachusetts at the time was hanging, and most of those found guilty of witchcraft in Salem met their end in this way. The Salem witch trials remain a chilling example of mass hysteria and religious extremism, but it's important to remember the historical facts, even in the face of such a terrifying event. Chapter 7, Einstein, a math whiz, not a math dunce. Albert Einstein, the brilliant physicist who developed the theory of relativity, is often used as an example of someone who struggled in school, particularly in math. You've probably heard the story Einstein failed math as a child, proving that even geniuses can stumble. But this story, like so many others, is simply untrue. Einstein excelled in mathematics from a young age. He was a gifted student who mastered calculus by the age of 15. The myth of Einstein's supposed mathematical failings seems to stem from a misunderstanding about his early academic records and a misinterpretation of his own words. The truth is, Einstein's brilliance lay in his ability to think critically, challenge assumptions, and see the world in a different way. Outro. Thanks for debunking with me. So there you have it, 7 historical myths debunked. It's amazing how these misconceptions can persist, isn't it? But that's the power of